All right, we are all set inside of our Mass Enrollment Method Facebook group. What's going on, everybody? Kate McShea here. And I'm super excited for today's interview. This was something that we were going to originally have scheduled on Monday. And that just didn't happen. And Bryan is so gracious and always able to adapt and pivot. And so here we are today on a Thursday. But what I wanted to do here is that I know this is going to be an incredibly valuable interview because for so many of you, a lot of our interviews come from the face of the brand, of the company, and you're hearing from their perspective. And I think one of the things that's really powerful that a lot of people do ask us about is like, what about from the operational side? Like when we talk about events, when we talk about strategically adding them into your business model, what does that look like from the operator's side and way of thinking? And one of the best people that both Andrew and I felt very strongly about bringing on to share that insight is Bryan Pocock, who is the COO of the Michael Blanc brand. And so I've got Bryan here where you're going to hear a little bit of a different perspective. Versus last week, we were talking with Justin about selling out his event and selling tickets and things coming from his perspective, his face. But today you're going to hear more from the operational side from a very, very powerhouse COO. So without further ado, what's up, Bryan? How you doing?
Good, Kate. Glad to be able to come on and join you and answer some questions. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And I really, really appreciate you for coming on because I think this is something where we have a lot of people and we work with a lot of people who they're the face, but then the operational side is so crucial and so key for longevity when it comes to adding events into your business model. And so I think that a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from this interview.
Well, and one of the things that we've been working on over the last year is stepping away from Michael, who is the face and founder of the company, into more of a visionary integrator type of a setup. And that it actually came from someone that you worked with previously, who suggested to Michael, hey, you can't do it all. You probably need to bring someone else on. And so, anyone who's done well as the principal may at some point need to be able to step away and need to have someone else come on to work with and take care of the day-to-day operations stuff. And that's why I'm here. So.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, if you can share a little bit about your background, because I think your background's really interesting. It was intriguing to me. And then a little bit, if you can break down a little bit more about that integrator visionary aspect of it, because I know that there are a lot of people as they start coming to us, that's stuff that they're starting to entertain because they are feeling that like, I can't do it all sort of thing.
Let's start with where I'm at now. Our company basically teaches people how to do multifamily real estate investments through syndication, meaning we teach them how to go out, find an apartment complex, work through the deal, and then get investors to come on and pay for it. And then they're there as the general partner that manages all of this, and that's where they get their money. So the investors come in and buy the company and buy the complex and then turn it over several years, and it can be pretty lucrative business. And we basically go out and teach people how to do that. My background before this was completely different world. I came most recently from a COO/CFO role with a company that did Amazon brand management. So very different world than real estate investing. But it was all about getting this company that I came from ready to do a merger, ready to do an acquisition, and then position itself in a place where it could then be acquired by a larger player in the market. And so it was very operational, getting all the pieces in place, being able to tell the story about the company. Prior to that, I was with a SaaS company that did call tracking for 8.5 years. We took this company that did sales coaching and sales training, particularly for inbound sales calls at distributed networks. So let's say a chain of tire stores where they've got to have agents on the floor answering the phone, but really each one of those calls is a sales call. And how do you convert that into sales of tires or windshields or rent to own furniture or whatever those were, or hospitality, where it was another big client. And with that, we turned that into a call tracking business, because we were using calls for coaching and training, and started building that up. And 8.5 years I was there at the SaaS company, building it from, I was the first employee after we got financing, up to about a $16 million company at its peak, before some downturn in the market and some other things happened. So, that's where I came from. And that's, so it's a little bit varied. Before that, I was in telecoms consulting and nonprofit management. But really, I come at this from a much more of an operational perspective, where I come from lots of different things, but I'm a little industry agnostic when it comes to running a business. At the end of the day, all the things that you need for the business kind of translate, and there's little tweaks that have to happen. But you have to have people to run stuff. You have to have some kind of marketing. You have to have some kind of sales. You have to have accounting, and all those things have to come together. And the way that you then go out and execute on certain things becomes industry specific, but the bulk of the company tends to overlap from industry to industry.
Yeah, and that's so interesting, because I think for a lot of people, because really you guys too, which it was so fascinating. The fun part about what Andrew and I do is that we get to work with so many different, truly, people in the industry who are teaching other people elements of how to do something, right? And so just getting into multifamily, like syndicated deals, was just fascinating to me. I know it was to Andrew too, because it was just a whole new set and experience. But could you actually elaborate a little bit more? Because I think what a lot of people think is, in this space, in this world, inside of the info coaching space, that it means that operationally things are different, or it's different than a SaaS company. It's different than this. And so it's how do you create that? Because I like that you said it's transferable. There are little changes and tweaks, but operations is operations.
Look, there are differences. In the SaaS model, it was we were heavy on the recurring revenue model.
Sure.
Basically, we measured everything in terms of monthly recurring revenue.
Yep.
And I'm trying to push us more in that direction.
Sure.
To see if we can get more to a subscriber type of a model.
Yeah.
But the nature of what we've done in the past has been, we're going to show you how. We're going to give you a course. It's going to be 12 months. And by the end of the course, sometime along the way, you will have completed a real estate investment deal, and you won't need us anymore. Basically the pitch that happened for a long time. Now, we're working right now on developing that out to have the next step. Okay, well, great. You did your first deal, but are you ready to scale your business? Do you know how to scale it? Do you know how to do multiple deals? And it isn't the multiple deals isn't about each deal, because we've already taught you how to do each deal. Right. What we now need to teach you how to do is, how do you string these together into an actual business? And that gets back to one of your questions before, and that was, the visionary integrator. Yeah. We use a system called EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System. Yep. It's written by, there's a book called Traction.
Gino Wickman, right?
Gino Wickman and his various partners, integrators, basically wrote this. And basically it says, hey, the two principles in a smaller business, in an enterprise, need to basically have a visionary role where they set the vision for where the company should go, and then an integrator who's kind of like the kite string. Okay, holds the visionary back enough that they can get lift from their vision. And enables stuff, gets stuff done, but also acts as kind of the brakes on the system to make sure they're not trying to go too far too fast. So they can actually get the lift that they need. And that kite string kind of is a good analogy that I like to use, because it's enough of a holding back, but it also means you can let some out when you have a good gust of wind that allows you to soar further. So my role as the integrator is to basically hold Michael back to a certain extent.
Yep.
But also make sure that we have the systems in place. You know,
Yeah.
we want to offer benefits. Like, okay, but our sales aren't stable enough at this point to offer the benefits, so we're going to hold back and not offer benefits to employees, or we're going to weigh weigh that out and say, look, we're not being able to find or retain employees without benefits. I'm sorry, you're going to have to give up something else because we need benefits in order to bring. Those are the kinds of decisions that need to be made, and it's a little bit more outside of that visionary realm.
Yeah.
That the COO needs to come in and do. And typically under EOS, it's going to be the CEO is the visionary and the COO is the integrator.
Right.
There's a little bit difference in personality types and so forth, but really they need to work together. And if they're not working together, you don't have a good operating system.
Yeah.
One of the things we like about EOS, especially, I wish I'd had this in previous enterprises that I was with, is that it provides some structure and some goal setting and some accountability things that every small business needs, but struggles to try to implement on its own. And if you're out there trying to reinvent it and come up with it on your own, you might ultimately end up with something better.
Yeah.
Right? But it's going to take you longer to get there. This is something you can implement very quickly. It has the structure you need to implement quickly. It's something you can communicate. There's books around it. There's tools out there in the market that you can bring in. We use a tool called Traction Tools for holding our meetings, and it keeps our meetings very structured. It keeps goal setting very structured. That allows us to do some scaling up to the point where eventually we could probably come up with our own systems and replace them. But we don't have to come up with them now when we don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah. No, I really like that analogy and understanding. So there's two books for everybody that's listening in, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, it would be Rocket Fuel and Traction. So those are the two books, which Rocket Fuel explains the integrator visionary journey of what you would be ultimately looking for, and also helps you identify who you are personally, so you can figure out who you really need in that balance. And then the second one is Traction. That's more how you leverage EOS and you put it into your system. And I really like what you were talking about, because actually it goes back to what we were also going to be talking about, which is like strategically adding in events into your business model. And your purpose as the Michael Blanc brand company of doing it. But it's like, first take a system that you already know is proven to work. And if you can start implementing that, because it's going to help you move forward, because it's got a framework already, it's got an ability for you to not have to reinvent the wheel, and then you can make it your own later on. That's such a stronger foundation than I know, because we've done this in personal experience previously and seen a lot of other companies where they're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel and be different. But there are some things that you can lay a foundation in that allow you to move further faster. And so I just appreciate that perspective.
This actually goes back to what you were asking about earlier. And that is, all these businesses are so different. How can you possibly have an underlying? Well, there's certain structures or certain systems that every business needs.
Right.
And so we're actually teaching EOS principles to our advanced students as they're learning to scale their business.
Right.
Like, look, you need to have a vision. You need to have, a mission and vision, and everyone talks about mission and vision and blah, blah, blah. But the next thing is you need to have goals, and those goals should be quarterly. Because a quarter gives you time to actually implement, execute, track, see where you're at, and then start over again. And EOS has a nice structure for that. But goal setting is something that every business needs, regardless of what industry you're in. I don't care. Most companies do it poorly. I've seen plenty of goal setting programs that were flavor of the month that were implemented and then failed, and then everyone gives up because this is never going to work, and so we just won't have goals. And we keep implementing, and it doesn't always work out great. But we have the structure now to look at it and say, hey, what worked, what didn't? Let's tweak this. Let's ratchet this up. Let's improve that. And so that's what we're working on is how we can continually make our goal setting a little bit more effective within a structure that we don't have to change.
Yep.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's huge. And actually that kind of leads us to, because I was just thinking of adaptations, optimizations, even things that you all are going to be focused in from the event side of things this upcoming year in 2023 with your big event. Then you've got another event coming up in January. Plus you've now, in June, they did Deal Maker Live. That's their like main annual event. And they also started to position, like you were talking about, your secondary offers to people who have been through your first program and done amazing things. So for a lot of you, this will be interesting just based on kind of from an operational side, what caused you to want to really dig into creating a way to have your events cause and create awesome impact, but also really drive revenue and profitability for you guys as well.
So what we may want to do is go back and talk about why we started doing the events.
Yes.
And I think that Michael always had this idea that he wanted to generate sales from it. I mean, he took sales guys and he tried selling people.
Yeah.
But,
and by the way, just for everybody, this was not their first event. This was like they've been doing events for a
while, and
exactly
we did several, and then COVID came and messed everything up, and we did a hybrid and we did a virtual and we did some other stuff, and so this is really our first time back, and we actually came back planning on doing a hybrid event.
Yep.
And Kate and Andrew talked us out of it, which worked out really, really well for a number of reasons. And one of the things I've liked about working with them is, they'll give a suggestion, and I always have to give pushback, because it's not to push back and fight with the ideas. It's so I can understand them, because I'm going to have to be the one to go and communicate it to the rest of my team.
Yes.
Make sure that they're bought in and on board. And so, we had discussions back and forth on this, and realized that, hey, here's what the numbers show. If we play the odds, we're going to be better off without the hybrid event. But we got into this because I think Michael just wanted a place where he could bring the tribe together. And and had a place where we could gather everyone and have it be the event in our space. And he was always reluctant to go down the road of doing any type of pitching from the stage.
Right.
He didn't want this to be a big pitch fest. That was his biggest worry. He didn't want to get in there because it'd been to them. Where you get there, you pay good money to go to this event, and suddenly it's pitch. Everyone's up there pitching, telling you why you should buy. You need to buy now. Go buy. Why haven't you?
Especially in the real estate market, right? Like it has this trend.
And then you have to factor in Michael's personality. And when I tell you that we teach people how to become financially free through real estate investing and syndication, the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, some of our competitors, someone standing in front of a beachfront property with a sports car in the background, stepping onto their private jet, talking about how they're going to be rich and famous and wealthy and how you can too, and so forth. And that is not Michael's philosophy. It's not his style. And he didn't want to end up looking like that up on stage.
Right.
So all of that has kept us from being able to really maximize our sales at the event.
Yeah.
Again, he went out, he does listen to counsel. He got a good consultant who said, hey, you're not selling enough at your events. That's the whole reason why you should be doing them. Why aren't you selling there? And he's like, well, pitch fest, I don't want to be, that thing. And he says, yeah, there's other ways to do it. You need to talk to Kate and Andrew. And so one of the things that we got out of our last event is we pivoted on this and prepared to be able to do a pitch.
Yep.
But the interesting thing is making sure that it was the right balance.
Yes.
And getting to the point where we could still present the offer, but not in a way that made it feel like that was the only reason why everybody came to the event and paid thousands of dollars in travel and hotel and ticket price to be at this place, but because it was an extension of what they should already be doing anyway.
Yes.
It was like, hey, you're here. do the right thing and help yourself out, and go and talk to our team, and they can help you get into the right product that is going to help you on your journey.
Yep.
And the feedback that we got was, yeah, I've been to a lot of these things, and they're always really pitchy, and I'm glad this one wasn't. I mean, that was literally the feedback we were getting from our people. And Michael was going out of his mind thinking that oh no, I'm like Mr. Sales Guy now.
Yep.
So it was nice being able to get that right balance and to get that dialed in. It means that we have some opportunity now to do this better on the next round. So
right. Yeah. And you know what's interesting? I think there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out that you said that I thought were very valuable. One of them is, if you're going to host an event just to make money, it will be hard for you to make money. Like, if we think of it in that perspective, what you and Michael and the team have done is, Michael had a vision and a mission for the event. It was, how do we bring our people together? Our most successful clients start there. If you can start in the foundation of instead of, I want to do an event so I can close a bunch of sales in a weekend and make a ton of money, then it's going to be hard for you to find that ability to not have it feel pitchy. Right. And so it's like, if you have this intimate and like desire and feel of, I want to bring our people together so they feel moved and changed and valued when they're there, then that's the fundamental foundation, is serving your community. And then the second part that I really appreciated was people, like, if you're not offering out a way for people to get help with what you're teaching them, then like, our fundamental belief is like, it's a disservice to the attendee. Is like, if they don't have another way to be able to continue to keep working with you, they're going to have to do it alone. Just like we were talking about with EOS, like, if you're going to put in a way to create accountability structure, like if you're trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to do it yourself, it's going to go slower and you're going to go it alone. And so having an ability to be able to have people tied to you, and we say this to every client, is like, your ability to be, your event is also to help them see the power in you continuing to serve them and work with them moving forward. The one other thing I will say, because I remember Michael saying it from stage, and he said it very eloquently in a way that was powerful for his community and for your community, is, what I want you to be able to do here when you leave the event is to powerfully say yes or powerfully say no to something. There is no middle. Like, we don't sit in the middle. We don't sit in hesitation. We make choices. And that didn't even 100% have to do with, he wasn't even at the pitch at that time. It was more about starting to operate at a higher level for everybody that was there, as business owners, as investors. Like, saying yes, saying no, there is no middle ground, allows people to powerfully choose. And I think that that's another value that you all brought to your community, was like, man, your speakers, they like, and it's crazy because they had 20-minute speaking spots and they over delivered. So the amount of value that was at that event was insane. And now you've got a ton of other people starting to go into your program, which I know you guys have a crazy success rate of people also closing their first deal. So it's like, it's a no-brainer if you have that ability to keep helping them.
One of the things that our previous events have done, we bring in a number of really great speakers on a number of great topics, but one of the things we didn't do well is tell a story. And we had a speaker talk about X, and then another speaker talk about this thing clear over here, and then we can circle back over to this realm, and then we're over here, and then we bring in this new thing, and great content, lots of stuff all over the map that served various parts of our community. I mean, realize that we have people going all the way from, hey, I'm thinking about maybe doing this someday,
right,
to people who have, oh, I've got 7,000 apartments that I manage. I'm just here to hang out with other people of my kin. So we have a wide range of people attending the event. But one of the things we didn't do well is tell a story about the journey. And so one of the things that we did after we engaged with Kate and Andrew is we basically went through our entire agenda and revamped it and reorganized and restructured it, so that each of the talks helped tell a story about the journey that someone needs to go on in this process of going from I don't know what I'm doing to I'm an expert.
Yep.
And we tried to mix a little bit of advanced stuff in our day one.
Yeah.
Just so it wasn't completely boring for those people, but really it was all about getting people up to the point where they could actually hear that offer to make a decision on day one. And then day two was filling in all the information. Okay, now that you made the decision, or now that you're already down this road, here's all the information that you need to keep going.
Right. Yeah. And I think, what's interesting about that is what we call that is when you're creating the event structure, it's, do you want the attendee to choose what they want to watch, what they want to see, what they want to consume, what they want to be a part of in the room? Or does the company actually orchestrate the experience? So that's very different, right? And there's lots of events where it's, you can pick and choose and it's all out there and it's like, here are all the different things. However, if your ultimate goal is to send people up into a program that or at least offer it out, invite them in, right, as an opportunity for them, then it's really up to the company to be able to orchestrate that feel and create put puzzle pieces together so people understand like this is all part of the process, and eventually it will be, which is really powerful.
Kind of like it's kind of like putting on a show, and I have some background. My dad ran some big events back in his day and so forth. That I'm thinking about this in terms of rock concert. You go to the rock concert, and there's certain things you're going to expect. There's certain songs that you would expect them to play at some point during the show because they're big numbers, etc. But you go to a band that has a really deep library of stuff, and they're not going to get through every song they've ever written during that show. And you don't know what order they're going to come up in, and they don't give you in most cases a program that tells you the order of the song so you can plan on when you want to take your bathroom break. Basically they present the show, and the show is presented in the way that they think is going to be the most impactful, the way that is going to create the best emotion, that's going to tell the best story for whatever it is they're trying to tell with that show. And that's really what this is about. And so one of the things that we had to step away from that we'd done is having an agenda that we published to the or attendees, as to what speakers were going to speak at what time exactly, and so forth. This gave us a couple of things that we hadn't really anticipated before. One, it gave us more flexibility. If we needed to pivot, if we needed to change stuff up, if we needed to start earlier, start later, give someone more time, cut somebody because they didn't have enough material, someone who has their plane that didn't arrive, what do we do with them?
Which happened a lot, actually.
Which actually happens. Yeah, we had a bunch of travel problems on this trip. It gave us flexibility. So flexibility was good, but two, it gave us the ability to tell the story without the guests, our attendees, deciding which story they wanted to hear. Because ultimately, the big lesson that I got is that if you let them choose, the only thing they can choose is to not attend a particular session.
Okay? So powerful. Yep.
I mean that was huge. You know, if you don't give them the ability to have that information, their only choice is, well, I can miss out on I don't know what, or I can attend the event that has all the information that the presenter is trying to present. And that became huge. We had a massive problem the year before where everyone wanted to just network out in the hallway, and no one was actually in the event listening to our speakers that were presenting great material.
Right.
You can't pitch to them. You can't give them the information you need if they're out in the hallway chit-chatting about other stuff. Yeah. So that was huge. It was huge.
I think that's such a big deal. And the interesting thing is like the choosing to be out of the room. Oftentimes, a lot of people don't know what they need. So it's our responsibility to help orchestrate that event, because people will say, oh, I just need networking. But if they're not at and here's the thing, Some people do. That is what they actually need at that time, at the level they're in their business. But most people will say, well, that's just what I need, when really they need this bit of information that's going to help them drive and move their business forward, versus I'm just going to go network with a bunch of people. So, and then incorporating it in, which you all are phenomenal at. Sean, who does like the logistics side, is exceptional when it comes to like creating these awesome experiences for cocktail hours. So all that stuff still gets added in. So the attendee feels like they are also coming with what they wanted, but then you're also giving them what they really need. Which is very powerful.
And getting that balance. The other thing that's difficult about our event is, like I said, we have people from newbies up to seasoned veterans. And providing content that's valuable to everyone is frankly difficult. Telling a story that applies to everyone is difficult. And making sure we have the right balance of both of those crowds, because the advanced people are basically proof of concept. They're there to say they're social proof that, hey, this actually works. The hardest part that frankly that we have is our tribe tends to be fairly unassuming and is not out there and like, because Michael isn't the here's my sports car and
you attract who you
Our tribe is kind of the same way, and what you end up with is this great big room full of introverted millionaire next door types.
Exactly.
And really, you don't know. I mean, the wealth that's in that room in terms of the amount of money that these people have gone out and raised on our seasoned people. They don't flaunt it. They don't dress like it. They don't come out and introduce themselves as such. You have to actually peel it out of them as you're talking. But they still need that networking opportunity, even though they're frankly a lot of introverted
engineer type. Exactly.
It's nice being able to keep that balance, but again, they're going to probably select out of attending sessions if you give them the option. And so not giving the option really ended up helping us out a lot in terms of keeping that energy in the room.
100%. I think that's just so valuable. And there's also some cool things that we're going to be working on for 2023 to offer out some higher level experiences for people who are higher level as well too, which is, and that's kind of the cool part is like, and I loved what you said even about the live stream. Do I do live stream? Do I not? It's based on numbers. So the more that it's based on, this is a process that has worked, been proven to work in multiple industries and multiple brands, styles of companies. And then you pay attention to the numbers. The numbers will tell the story. Then we can look at how to optimize, which is really, really powerful. Well, Bryan, I know that we've got just a few more minutes wrapping up. This went by way faster. It always does. Every time it's like, I know it's fun. Like I thoroughly enjoy it.
We had this get together with our team the night before our event, and Kate, and then Sean, our event planner, and I were sitting there at the table watching everybody else socialize, and we're just kind of there happily, just sipping on our diet soda and happy to see everyone else. We're the
our introverted selves. Well, I think what I would love as we wrap this up, and just for everybody that's here, if there are any questions that you have or anything operationally, feel free to drop them inside of the comments as well too, because obviously we're in contact with Bryan all the time, and I'm sure I can always make sure that if you've got questions or things like that, I can always make sure that you guys get connected. And definitely make sure that you check out the Michael Blanc brand. It's michaelblanc.com, correct?
It is the Michael Blanc.
The
Michael Blanc. Michael Blanc itself was not available, and so we went with the Michael Blanc, which really sounds pretentious, but until you get to know him, and he's not. So
but if you're looking into anything real estate wise, or especially when it comes to syndication, this company is absolutely amazing. So when it comes from like takeaways for you, Bryan, when you're thinking about a lot of the people that come to us just like they want to do events, but they're not sure if they're ready for it, or if it's a fit for them or if it's going to be an operational nightmare and all these kind of things. Like, what would you share just to offer them some insight based on your perspective?
Well, look, I think at the end of the day, you need to look at and say, what is the goal for our event? What do we want to get out of this? You know, if we just want to put on a little show and get together with a few friends and so forth, should you even be doing a show? I mean, I mean, really look at the event and decide what it is that you want to get out of it and whether an investment in it is going to be worth it.
Yeah.
The next thing you need to look at is say, okay, so what does success look like? And if I could have my dream of dreams, my hope of hope, my desire of desires, what would it be? And what is it going to take to get to that point? And then you're going to have to look at it and say, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice in order to get there?
Yeah.
You know, we looked at this and had some traditions that had crept in that seemed to be working, right? But then when we got into it, we started analyzing. We're like, oh, this thing that we really liked is one of the things that's breaking what we want to actually get out of it, and it's keeping us from getting to our goal. Are we willing to sacrifice that? And one of the things that I love about working with Michael is he was willing to sacrifice all traditions in order to get to the end goal. And the hardest part was trying to get the rest of the team to follow.
Right.
So operationally, you need to go in and say, okay, what do I want to get out of this? What are the end results? What is the profitability targets I need to get? What are the what are the numbers that I need to get to in terms of attendance, in terms of this, in terms of that? And what will it take to get there? And am I willing to make the sacrifices and the investment to do it?
Yeah. And
once, oops, I just clicked off my, don't touch stuff, Bryan. All right. So, ultimately that's the real decision that you've got to make operationally is where do you want to get to and what are you willing to invest to get there? And that investment might be a sacrifice, or it might be some cash that you got to put down, or it might just be your time or the effort that you haven't been willing to put in before.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's it's such a good way to evaluate it, because so many people just hop right in with their heart, which heart is phenomenal. You want to be able to have heart and love for what you do and all the feelings, but the numbers and the goals and the understanding of what it's going to be fueling is very different. And that's where we see people win with events, is when they actually approach it that way, with the combination of heart, right, added in there.
I'd also add, I'm an operations guy. I like to complicate things more than I probably should. But I also greatly value simplification.
Yeah.
And while I'm very much into all the details and logistics and how all the pieces fit together and making sure that stuff happens in the right order and where do we need to start and making agendas and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, I'm also very much a simplifier at heart.
Yes.
And when I can get someone who can help me identify how to simplify this down to the basic structure, it gives us the structure that we need to then be able to build those details back in.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard when you're in the weeds to see the big picture, and I highly recommend finding someone who can think big picture but talk details. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's huge. Well, Bryan, this has been wonderful. I always enjoy when we get a chance to get together and we get to chat. And for all of you that are on live watching the replay, if you are considering doing an event, or you're already doing an event, because that is where this team was, and you're just looking for ways to optimize and really express the goals and the mission of what you're looking to do, just drop book in the comments and we'll make sure that either one of us, Andrew or I, or somebody on our team gets back with you so we can hear more about where you're at, what you're looking to do, and see if it's a fit for you, and see if what we offer out and what we do could help support you. So with that, Bryan, thank you. It's always a pleasure. I know there's going to be a lot of people who get a ton of value out of this. And for all of you who are watching, thank you so much. And we'll see you on our next training. Bye, everybody. Here.